everybody, Ken Croak here. We're here at the OUR CrossFit facility trying to catch Dave Lopez. He's in this new documentary that they're rolling out about Operation Underground Railroad. I'm hearing he's here today. We called ahead and hopefully he's got some time for us.
Hey, Ken,
There
how's
he
it
is.
going, buddy?
How are you, man?
Good to see
Dave
you.
Lopez, right? This is the guy.
Good to see you.
Why don't you give us a bit of a tour of the facility?
Sure, come on in.
All right, okay. So this is like where it started.
Yeah, this place was, one of the ways that OUR has been able to capitalize on all those donations coming in is they've early on, Tim really wanted to think outside the box, and he wanted to find self-generating income revenue streams to help pay for administrative costs. So the idea behind this, facility was the ability to start a CrossFit gym that all the profit was made off the facility went to cover administrative costs for OUR, which in turn allowed us to go to our donors and say, you can go directly to our
So the money's going to rescue kids.
Directly to rescue
So we got
kids.
T-shirts, we got all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah,
These
amazing
really cool-
merchandise.
And people kill for these little wristbands right here. So this is where it started.
This
right?
is it. Yeah, the origins was here. Yeah.
I understand. I mean, this is a pretty famous graphic. This is what everybody used to see. Is that right?
Yeah, this is early on, early days.
Now, she's like a CrossFit. Isn't this Tim right here?
Yeah, there's Tim. There's Tim right in the middle.
That is awesome.
Eyes kind of covered, and we know
I mean,
most of these people.
They're
in
way
here.
beyond this early facility, but this is where it's at. This is cool. And you're just in town for the day.
Yeah, I'm just in town. I'm from Virginia, so I'm just visiting, and I love to spend time here whenever I can and get a good look
Gearing up for the big launch of the documentary.
Yeah, we're very excited. Operation Two Saint is coming out on July 10th.
Now,
and
that's right here, right?
Yeah, we actually have the new merchandise coming out.
Okay, you're repping the brand.
Yeah,
right
so we're very excited to get the word out about what's happening in Haiti
awesome.
and what's happening around the world in terms of this ongoing fight against sex slavery.
Wow,
So
like 17 countries now?
17 countries, including the United States now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my heavens.
It's amazing. It's amazing. From where it started 4.5, 5 years ago to what's come now, and now all the celebrities that are getting behind it, all the notoriety of different people are starting to really
Tony Robbins,
Roger
Mike
up.
Tomlin.
Yep.
Now you knew Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, right?
Yeah. So it's strange. A SEAL buddy of mine asked me to come work with the Steelers, and Coach Tomlin just was wanting to make sure the guys were safe. The guys that owned firearms were using them safely. So I got to know a number of the players that way, and then I got to know Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin and I ended up really connecting, and I wasn't anticipating that. We ended up just hanging out a number of times, and one of those times. We were discussing the NFL and where it was going, and I brought up this mission and what we've been doing, and I had him watch our other documentary that we made a few years ago, him and his wife, and I said, just pray, just think about it, and he's like, this is it. This is the direction that we need to go. We need to unify, get our whole team behind it. And so that's what he's been
in the
doing.
documentary. He's written the foreword for Tim's book.
Yeah, he was a big part of that book, and him and I talk all things race-related issues. How do we get out of this? How do we set a positive trajectory for the country? And I don't believe there's nothing more powerful than whites and blacks teaming together to end modern slavery.
Wow.
That's a narrative that I think needs to spread. That's besides the polarized.
Yes.
You can see it in the entrenched viewpoints right now that people have, kind of the suspicion they have towards each other. We just need to break through it and just say, hey, let's just rally behind it.
Cool. Well, let's go check out some more. So they're selling T-shirts like crazy.
Yeah, here's where everything comes in and goes out. All the merchandise.
People are asking, how do I support? Well, yeah, just like be a walking billboard, right?
Go buy our stuff. Tell people about what we're doing. Spread the link to the documentary, OURfilm.org. You can help by donating. You can help by being an advocate. Using your social media to generate attention for the cause. So there's a number of ways that all of us can get involved in this fight, and there's also, for me, as a buddy of mine asked me to get involved with it, and I was a volunteer that helped whenever I was needed. And then,
how long were you in the Navy SEALs?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, I got out in 2012.
Wow.
And it wasn't too long after getting out that I got involved with Tim down in Colombia, and that was my first
jump.
Yeah. So it was just in its infancy stages, and I knew nothing about sex trafficking when I got asked to go help, and so my eyes were just blown.
Wow.
wide open, and from then on there was nothing I would have wanted to do. And so I worked. I had another job training SWAT teams and stuff, which I've done off and on around the country. So I did that.
I mean, you're in the film training local law enforcement teams.
Yeah.
How to do the best practices around this kind of stuff.
You know, like I'm really, and Tim really believes that the mission has to go to the country.
Yeah.
And that it's about us empowering that country to take on the fight, and that's our best strategy going forward. So I like to go in there and build relationships with key people, allow the training, and not just training to train, but training to build relationship.
Gotcha.
on a level of trust level with these law enforcement officers that are going to be going after these types of people. And that's really the point of getting people on a collective issue that we're all seeing it the same way. And you'd be surprised, in any country we're in, this is such a unifying mission that people that would never sit with each other, politicians that would never sit with each other,
Wow.
will do it for this cause. And so it's amazing to see that happen all throughout the world.
Now this is a bit of a move for you personally, because with you starting to appear on film,
Yeah.
you're not. It's not wise for you to go back undercover, I'm imagining.
No, yeah, my
So
undercover days
their sort of days are done.
Yeah, those days are done.
Wow.
And my role has shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
So now I'm more of an instructor and
Okay.
getting people ready for these
So
operations.
you train the trainers. You get
Yeah,
out there and
I help them
with the mission structure.
I'll go there on the missions, but I'm always kind of the guy behind the scenes, making sure it's being done to the best ability that we can do. So that's how I try to put myself into the program. But our other guys that come in, and we have some of the most amazing guys that do our intel work, that build the relationships, that they're the ones that really set us up for success of finding these traffickers. So it's an awesome organization. Everyone has their little part to play in it.
So I understand there's ways you can get involved with Operation Underground Railroad and volunteer work.
Tons of opportunities. We have charters in all different cities. So we actually have them marked over here on this board if you want
Let's
to follow
look
me.
at it, yeah.
Come on over. Yeah, so right here you can see, we're all over the map, literally. We have volunteers all over the country that are doing amazing work. They're generating support. They're getting the local communities involved at a very grassroots level. And that's really what it takes. I mean, this is such a pervasive issue even in the United States.
What would someone do? Just go to the website, say I want to be a part of it?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we have
Cool.
we have a button right there on how to get involved. It's right there on our website, and we have different options for people. For some people, it can be giving. For some people, it's giving time. For others, it's just leveraging your social media account to spread OURfilm.org. It doesn't really matter the capacity. It's just that everyone has an opportunity to do something.
Now, I can't tell you. In fact, shortly we're going to be interviewing Dr. Tom Harrison, who assists with doing the profiles of the people who want to go with you guys out on the jumps. I'm getting people all over wanting to be part, former police officers.
Oh, yeah.
What would they do if someone really wants to get involved and actually go rescue kids? What do they do?
Then they can actually submit resumes, and that's where Tom would come in and his expertise and his analysis of people, because we have a large list, thankfully, of people rogering up to get on board with this mission, and that's the most amazing thing to see. And so it's just about figuring out the right fit, because it is a very, very dark subject, and it takes a lot out of people. So it's it's definitely not for everyone. It's definitely not even everyone that have the qualifications in different government sectors. So those are the things that we're waiting to see, the right fit for these positions, but we want to have everyone that believes they can be a part of this and offer something to this mission set, whether it's on the intel side or the training side or on the aftercare side. Professionals that specialize in rehabilitation for children that have been drug out of these situations. There's tons of different ways to get involved on the operations side and after operations. Cool.
Hey, I want to see the CrossFit facility. Can we do that?
Let's go.
I need to get to work myself.
Let's do it. Here we go. Yeah, some of the pictures. This is the facility.
This is the place, huh?
This
And I
is
hear there's
where-
some serious workouts going on
Oh,
here
yeah, this
most
is-
of the time. Starts about 5 o'clock usually.
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning. This is where they make warriors in here.
Yeah.
So we have some of the wall of Tim and some amazing, notable CrossFitters. And we have Rich Froning up there on the board, one of the top CrossFitter of all time.
He's number one, right?
Yeah,
And
he
you
won.
know some guys that have been pretty high up.
I know a good buddy of his, Josh Bridges, was in the SEAL teams with me, and Josh is one of the top 5 finishers in the CrossFit Games as well.
And he was in this teams with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
wow,
went
that's
through
cool.
a week
Did you
together.
kick his butt, or did he take you on?
You know what, man? He was a scrappy little dude, man. I like to say I could, but who knows? I mean, he's a tough, solid, wiry guy.
Wow,
but
that's
it
cool.
would be a fun test, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, let's go see some more.
Yeah.
So this is where they keep track of all the different athletes and their times. And tell us more about what's going on here.
Yeah, they just have, this is kind of a way for people to post their best workouts, kind of a way to encourage themselves, but also encourage others, also have a little bit of friendly
So they're
competition.
taking people on here, huh?
Exactly. There's a little bit of friendly competition
That's
in
cool.
every CrossFit box. As part of the model is the group mindset of training and working with each other and kind of leeching off of each other's motivation a little bit.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
so if people here in Draper, Utah, all they got to do is go out to
OUR CrossFit.
OUR CrossFit. Okay.
OUR CrossFit.
Yeah, there's a website,
Yep.
and they can just and then they help contribute just by working out.
That's right. Yeah, everything, all the workouts here, all the profit being raised out of this facility is going for administrative costs for Operation Underground Railroad.
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
So, do you mind if we sit down? There's some pretty cool stories I've heard about you. I have some questions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go sit.
All right. So, Dave, what took you down this path that ends up working with Tim Ballard?
It started with this desire to serve in the military, and it really came at an age that I wasn't really expecting it. I was in about 18, 19 when I started to really contemplate it. And I must say, I was beginning to study the Bible for myself. I'd grown up with my own religion and version of religion, but I began to ask a lot of questions and try to answer them, and I'm still in that place. But I started to really get fascinated with the ancient prophecies of Israel, and I started to, in my way, kind of connect some things that I was seeing happen in our day, and I was like, how do I, what can I do to advance this cause? And I guess for me, what's the cause? Like I kind of learned at a young age how dark the world can be in my own kind of way, and now with what we're doing now with OUR, you see it at a much greater level, of course. But I guess for me, it's this desire for this kingdom to come back to earth, for that restoration to happen, because the more you see of the world, the more like it can leave you a little bit, a little in despair. So for me, it's all about inching the ball forward as much as we possibly can towards if we can do anything in our life to help that kingdom.
So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a place called Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah.
And what was your religious background, if you don't mind me asking?
I grew up predominantly evangelical Christian.
Okay.
Bounced around within a few different evangelical persuasions, but mostly Southern Baptist.
Wonderful.
That's what I was raised in, and I had a interesting upbringing, to say the least. I had a brother and a sister that we picked on each other a lot. I grew up in an interesting part of the country, especially as it pertains to the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of the
right in the heart of it.
Kind of the ground zero for all the issues that stemmed out of slavery and the wars that were fought. And ironically, growing up, especially after my teens, I kind of got into this phase of life where I really identified with the neo-Confederate movement, and I was kind of one of those guys to my shame for a part of my life. So I would be the guy with the Confederate flag, waving it and defending it, and arguing against slavery even being a real issue in our country. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons how I got there, but it was something that it wasn't until my time in the military when I started to see other cultures and really think that I kind of branched outside of that logic and reconsidered some history that I've been taught.
Now, Navy SEALs, that's like serious. Tell us that story if you don't mind. I've been out to your Facebook page. I've seen, your pictures with the team and the rubber boat, and oh my gosh, this is serious. I went to Annapolis. I went to Naval Academy, and I know what it means to be a Navy SEAL. Yeah,
that was quite a very trying time, but looking back on it, one of the best times of my life. I made some of the best friends that I'm still close with today, and it was that moment in life where, in that place I was in, I knew there was nothing that could stop me, because the vision that God had me on, the mission I was on, was much more important than the pain that we were going through at the time. I actually feel like I had an edge because of that component going into that psychological test.
Wow.
But there was definitely a huge fulfillment afterwards of confidence that comes after knowing you can handle something like that. So I remember, for me, maybe a little bit insecure kid growing up. After that, it really instilled in me a whole new self-identity, I think.
Absolutely. So then what happened? During the Navy SEALs, where'd you go from there?
Yeah, I decided to get out, and I did some security work around the Middle East, and then I was kind of in that place of figuring out, do I domesticate now, and what do I do? What jobs does Navy SEAL segue into in the civilian world? And I kind of tried a little bit to do that with a few different ideas, but eventually it wasn't until a buddy of mine invited me to come help with Operation Underground Railroad. This was with Operation Triple Take.
Triple Take, that was one of the early ones.
That was one of the early ones down in Colombia.
Wow.
Rescuing, in that operation we rescued over 121
That was
children.
a big one.
It was huge.
Wow, that's never been done before.
That was the largest one, I believe, in history.
Oh my heavens.
And I got to play a role in that and be a part of that, and it was the first time I got to see the magnitude of what sex trafficking was. So stunned, and like most people are when they first get confronted with the sin of sex slavery. And then from then on, there was really nothing else I wanted to do.
Wow.
So then I was just a guy, I trained law enforcement and SWAT teams at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was a guy that...
That's a good fit then.
Yeah, it fit perfectly for me. So I would work at home, and then whenever they needed me, they would call me up.
Just call. You get a call from Tim.
It's
We're going
right.
in.
That's right. Tim, he'll be like, hey, can you be in Colombia? When? Tomorrow? Okay.
That's how it is.
That is sometimes how it is.
Happens quick.
We're very flexible.
Tell us about Tim. I mean, you know Tim better than a lot of folks do.
Yeah, Tim, where do I start with Tim? Tim is a guy that I have so much respect for, because, and not everyone really understands this about Tim, but he is 100% mission oriented.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to, now that people are coming behind the mission, now his name's going everywhere, and he'll let that happen, but he'll let it happen for the mission's reasoning.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
He's not
about
very
Tim.
comfortable with the limelight,
He does
is he?
not like it at all. But he does understand the power of unifying people together. And that's why he's willing to sacrifice things that he himself doesn't really, wouldn't have chosen for himself.
Yeah.
But will play it out in order to let people see what's going on. Tim is the best person to communicate the message. He connects with people, people connect with him, and they can see themselves in his storytelling, the way he tells it. So, and not only that, he's an amazing operator.
He's all in.
And undercover operations, helped write the book on how to combat human trafficking before it was even a thing. So for me, to be partnered with such a man of integrity, a guy that is not swayed by the normal things in life that men are swayed by, the fame, whatever it is. We have tons of private conversation about all these things, and I don't think there's anyone I've met that's more self-analytical than Tim Ballard.
I'd have to agree. That's beautiful. Now, Operation Tucson. We get together with Russell Brunson and make that introduction. Russell got just entranced with the whole topic, but the problem is there's a short deadline, and they want to do this documentary. It usually takes 2 years to do a documentary, right? And they're saying, this is like November last year, and they said, we got to have it done by March. Yeah. And luckily there's one operation going down. You're in the middle of it. Did you know there was going to be film crews that was going to turn into a documentary?
No. I got told I heard some rumblings, and this is at the time I didn't know of Russell. And
so even the team didn't know this was going on.
I mean, when Tim got down there, it was all last minute. Yeah, there's some people filming. Well, I know the game. There's always people filming.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really making.
The game, yeah.
I wasn't really making the connection to. And then I heard there wasn't going to be a documentary, but I assumed it was going to be about everything. I didn't know how things would play out down there. I'm very glad now knowing, if I had known then that a lot of things were riding on that mission to go well, I probably would have been a little bit more nerve-wracking. But thankfully, that was a moment of intense struggle down there leading up to the operation. There was tons of factors behind the scenes that you don't really see in the documentary that were at play and forces up to the last moments of that mission. Wow. Many things almost set the whole thing off, and so it came through. I would argue in a miraculous way. And the way that story came together, and how we caught the people in the act. Yeah. We weren't anticipating any of those things. So these guys down there, filming, and Nick Nanton and his crew down there filming, they're just like, what? Like they had no idea what they were going to be put into. I honestly didn't know what they were going to be put into.
That's a little nerve-wracking. Their security. I mean, you're bringing in guys who this isn't their game.
No, absolutely. That's where they're completely trusting us.
Wow.
And we trust heavily on our partners on the ground and our ability to set up the proper security and the things that we need for all the things we do. But man, I tell you, we were hanging it out a little bit that time, and
there's this beautiful moment. Do you mind if I share? I mean, in the middle of the documentary, Tim turns to you and asks you to offer a word of prayer. And it's like, oh my heavens, that everyone just went quiet. I'm like, these usually don't go together. But now, can you tell us? I mean, that happens a lot. I understand.
It is. It's become a pretty common thing for prayer to be injected into the operations.
Wow.
I personally didn't know that was even being filmed.
So that was live. You didn't even know.
I didn't know that we had cameras rolling for that prayer at the time. I wasn't thinking, and so when I saw it for the first time, I just that prayer is very special to me. So it's something I pray over my kids at night.
Beautiful.
It's, the words in English are may Jehovah bless you and keep you. May Jehovah make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May Jehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And that's one of the most respected and famous prayers in all the Bible. And it means a lot to me. God said when we pray that prayer, he'll place his name upon his people. So that's why you can see the way I pronounce the name, even Yehovah, the Hebrew pronunciation of Jehovah. Yehovah is the name that was meant to be pronounced when you pray that prayer. So it's very controversial. There's some people in some Jewish sects that would not like that I pronounce the name instead of saying Adonai, but it's a very powerful prayer. I've seen miracles happen literally when that prayer's been prayed in other countries, and even outside of OUR and in Sudan, I saw a miracle happen instantaneously. And a doctor who was with us was treating an infant baby, and I prayed for 300 people that day. Nothing happened or anything, and I didn't really expect it to be frank with you. I was used to praying for people, but this one baby was terminally ill and had fluid in its lungs, and the doctor said it was about to die. The mother was Muslim, didn't want the child to be prayed for. The ladies got in a big argument outside. Someone grabbed her baby, brought it inside to be prayed for, and I just lost it for this baby. And I was completely overcome with whatever the scenario had happened for this baby. And I prayed this prayer, and I prayed it, and when I prayed it, I just knew whatever the empathy level was at that moment, like I knew there was something that was going to happen. The baby immediately coughed up everything. Wow. I'd never seen anything like that happen in my life. So it's a very powerful prayer. Yehovah Yishmorecha, Yehovah panav ilecha v'yonecha, Yisa Yehovah panav ilecha, v'yasim lecha shalom. May Yehovah bless you and protect you. May Yehovah let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. How was the prayer?
How was the prayer? Yeah.
Oh gosh, 5,000 years old.
Wow.
Oh my heavens. How did you learn it, Dave?
Wow.
I learned it from a Hebrew scholar named Nehemiah Gordon. He's one of the foremost interpreters on the Dead Sea Scrolls. Amazing. He's the one that discovered the name Yehovah in the ancient manuscripts. So there's been a big debate amongst Jews. What's the name of God? Is it Yahweh? Is it Yehovah? Is it some people say it's Yahuwah. And so he found the actual letters in Hebrew with the vowels, which in Hebrew is the whole point, with the Masoretic vowels. And he found it in ancient manuscripts saying Yehovah. There's something to the name of God, of who he is, that I think he's going to have it be known again. And I believe that whenever we connect with the Father's heart, because he sees everything. He sees all these awful things going on. Yes. Whenever we can connect with that and say we'll team with him, I believe that's where his power, it's almost like that's where the connection's made. In the empathy is where the connection's made, I believe, with the Father. So that's where I think our power and our strength is, outside of the good-hearted intentions of people and volunteers all over the world. It's really that desire, that real deep heartache for what's going on to these people. And then the willingness to do something to try to stop it.
Well, and you know, when Tim asked me to be involved to help architect a lot of the social and digital media strategies, it was a spiritual experience from the first meeting we were there. And then I find out that, you know, a lot of the things Tim's finding about comes from the book of Isaiah, and Isaiah prophesies of human trafficking in our day. It's like, oh my heavens, you've had some pretty major shifts in your religious background, and can you might share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck in between two worlds. Raised in Christianity, the last 10 years more steeped in Judaism, and there's been things that at times don't seem to add up, and I can see it. And honestly, I see it not just in myself and in my own psyche, but I see it in our religions and how we're still kind of perceiving each other. What I do see with what we're doing is an ability to transcend the differences, to unite behind the Father's cause. Frederick Douglass once said, "I'll team with anyone to do good and with nobody to do wrong."
Beautiful.
And I believe if everyone has this mindset, it's not about, it's not about validating this religion or that religion or no religion. It's about who's going to show up and do the right thing. That's what I'll team with, and I'll leave everything else and all the judgments of people's perceptions and how they believe in God to God.
That's beautiful, Dave. I know you're buried, you got lots on your plate, but taking some time out for us to talk about some important things and some sacred things means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ken. Appreciate it.
You bet.